One of my favorite sounds in the world, recording in progress. I don't know what it is about her voice, but it just does it for me. It's like, get ready, set, and fucking go. All right, Mark Ricchetti, Ella Edwards, behind Be His Addiction, and a Hollywood actress who is available for user-generated content that will take your brand to the next level, being both a spokesperson and or just somebody who knows how to take your messaging and put it into a relatable form that pre-qualifies people to click on to your pre-qualifying page that sells them to get them to checkout, and more money is made. That's how easy it is. Now, we're sitting here going through a product for a VSL. And this is kind of like a kid in the candy store. When you have the ability to influence the formulation of the product that you are going to write for. Well, why do we do that? Well, there's three things, three elements, three puzzle pieces that get us to convert. Positioning. Why? Positioning is the hook. Forget about the hook, the big idea, that the post that I just put up about that Amazonian tribe, and a few people actually responded and kind of get it. And then what I just said to Isaiah, good copywriter, he's hitting the more, in his example, he's hitting this point where it sounds in a very direct response, like what you would hear in many ClickBank videos, VSLs. And so I responded, well, when you understand what the mechanism is, it's going to change the way you enter the conversation. Ooh, that's what she said. Now, with that in mind, here we have ingredients. I proposed ingredients. The manufacturer came back and proposed ingredients that they believe are going to be more stable in this case, a sunscreen, which increases the efficacy and increases our ability to have a more sophisticated, powerful conversation with the people we help the most, right? So let's break down this first ingredient. Ella and I were going through it. She's the one that's like, hey, we should put this on record. I'm like, So here we are. And Ella hasn't said a word. That's so unusual when Mark is being recorded for other people not to be able to get a word in edgewise. Is that the saying, the cliche, the adage, the whatever the F? I don't know. You don't need to answer that. First thing we're looking at. All right, this is an aloe formula. Go ahead.
Didn't have anything to say.
This is an aloe formula. Now, just knowing anything about skincare, we know aloe is a very accepted form of skincare. We know, oh, you get a burn, you put aloe on it, right? People understand that. It has what we call heuristic association. Aloe burns, put a burn on. Great. It does a lot more than that. Now, we have here a proprietary form of aloe that boosts keratin. Where keratin is, I'm not going to say that, keratinocytes, stimulates wound healing, all that type of stuff. But it has Saccharomyces, good bacteria that is, remember, our skin is a microbiome, just like the gut, just like the lungs. It's good and bad bacteria. If our skin is in dysbiosis, more bad bacteria than good, they eat our expression wrinkles, they make them deeper. Free radicals eat the cells, make them deeper, not eat, take the electron, make it unstable, create more oxidative damage. Our skin is literally rusting. If you ever lived in Hawaii, where I grew up, or in a humid area, if you get a scratch near the coast, near the ocean, if you get a scratch on your car, on your paint, just a scratch, within a couple of years, that's going to be a huge gaping hole. That's what she said. So that's what happens on our skin. We get that initial expression wrinkle damage, collagen decline, which we're going to address in a second, and the rusting effect, the oxidative damage effect, accelerates, perpetuates exponentially. Exponentially means it gets bigger and worse in this case. Is that what she said too? I don't know. Don't answer that. Now, the second part of the conversation which was actually the main mechanism I was looking for. Everything I've talked about up until this point is just a happy consequence to the conversation that I started with the formulator. We started with the formulator. The number one cause of the appearance of aging is collagen decline, type 1 collagen decline. Why? Because it makes up 80% of our skin. By 50 years old, on average, 60 years old, on average, 50% of collagen is gone in the average adult who lives the average standard American lifestyle. Lots of processed foods, lots of alcohol, little water, not enough real organic food that have the nutrition to power your body. That's why we supplement, by the way. And anything skincare is supplementation for the skin. It's skincare is supplementation because it's putting nutrients into the biggest organ we have in our body, skin, also into the lymph. We can, actually, you can't say that, that's a structure function claim. Can't go too far into the skin, derma. So the fibroblasts are what stimulate type 1 collagen. And in our early 20s on average, the fibroblasts slow down, so we're only getting a drip of collagen. So we're losing more type 1 collagen than we're repleting. Now, this is a sunscreen. The number one reason for aging, visual appearance, the appearance of aging, is UV exposure. And it happens year round, even if the sun is being covered up. It happens even at night. There's a significant amount of UV still and different types. So we need constant protection of the fibroblasts. And at the same time, we need to stimulate the fibroblasts. Now, this has that mechanism. And if you think of like KSM-66, the proprietary form of ashwagandha, why do we use it? Because it's backed by clinical studies that allow us to enter into the conversation in a more relevant, sophisticated way, and we know how far we can take our claims, right? And this proprietary form of aloe, an accepted skincare, but on steroids, that now has deeper mechanisms for both UV protection and repletion of vital nutrients that keep our skin repairing itself instead of getting the aging process visually accelerating faster and faster and faster and faster. What do you think about all this? As somebody who's going to be writing words, you know, it's like, well, how does that affect the way that you look at the conversation versus a broad hook of you should wear sunscreen every day and it should be more than just sunscreen? That's like generic, broad. Now we have more specificity.
And if you're writing regular sunscreen copy and it's just sunscreen, then you're competing with every sunscreen brand that has name brand and trust recognition. With this, you're having a conversation with an entirely different audience of people who are already interested in skincare and understand what a lot of these things are doing for them and want to reach for something that's going to be more effective and more specific. It's basically the same thing as you're going deep, not wide.
Yep. And that's a great point too, because if we just look at people who already use, men, women, children, parents buying for their kids, people already using sunscreen daily, not even every once in a while, but daily, that's a significant amount of people. If we just marketed it to them, it's a huge, massive audience that will build a brand and being relevant for more than that, and get people who don't use sunscreen every day to now adopt that philosophy while repleting nutrients that help strengthen their skin, keeping a youthful appearance, helping prevent and repair, which, you know, I've said this before in other videos, but, you know, when I was in my 20s, and when my mother was in her 20s, preventative skincare was not as much of a thing. You dealt with the consequences when you got older. Now, people in teens and 20s are investing in preventative skincare, which means that this market, the low-hanging fruit, is very big and makes this ingredient extremely important to stand apart from other sunscreens. And by the way, guys, we're seeing this stuff for the first time. We're auditing this for the first time. So this is just off the top of the dome, right? And we have 2 more ingredients. So let's see what they are.
May I say something?
Yes.
So what this says to me is
Just
that
one
if I were an offer owner formulating something, what I would be looking for is a combination of ingredients that have that heuristic association, so I can enter the conversation from an accessible place, and also more unique ingredients, and especially ingredients that have a proprietary formula, so that way I'm able to make bigger claims, more specific claims, and have the studies to back that up easily.
Huge.
So it's a combination of things that I would be looking for if I were looking to formulate either a supplement or a skincare or anything that involves ingredients with studies.
Yep. It's a biz owner and copywriter's wet dream to be able to have a real, substantial, authentic conversation about why we age and ingredients that are familiar but positioned in a high level of sophistication that mechanize what's really happening underneath the skin to hit core reasons why, so that we can hit that prevention and reparation. Is that the word?
Yeah. Well,
I agree.
and also when you get to tap into that excitement, and I know we have, people look at copywriters and freelancers a certain way, but when you can tap into that excitement, when you have a product, when you've created a product that copywriters can get excited about, that also means that people are going to get excited about it. People are going to talk. And that's just so much better for a brand than whatever the person next door is selling.
Yep. Look at this screen right here on the screen right here. So it's mineralized, enriched in minerals. Minerals are electrolytes. One of the biggest minerals our skin and our cells, all cells, need is magnesium. Magnesium is the spark of energy of ATP. ATP is energy in the energy metabolism. And what minerals do is they help, well, when we're thirsty, like we feel like we need to drink water. Oftentimes we're not thirsty for water, and drinking water makes us more dehydrated, especially after working out or a sauna. What our cells are thirsty for are minerals. And minerals help create that plumpness in the skin, that dewy, shine, glow, whatever you want to call it. Not shine, I guess we don't want shiny skin, that's oily. But it gets into the cells.
No, we want it again.
Oh, we do?
Keep
Okay.
up with the trends. Yeah, glass.
Keep up what?
Keep up with the trends.
Oh, trends. I thought you said something else. So that's a huge part of the conversation. Then the spark of energy, magnesium. Magnesium is the spark of energy, and it's what makes our skin radiate with energy, literally radiate. That's because the energy metabolism is churning, and it's allowing for toxins to get out so that they're not clogging pores, damaging skin cell, creating red patchy skin, inflammation. That's what happens when toxicity is trapped in the skin, aside from like ingrown hairs and zits. So right there, we have a whole other angle into the conversation that the first ingredient doesn't touch, and this satisfies, which is replenishing the hydration our cells are really thirsty for, minerals.
So what that also tells me is that as you're selecting ingredients here, what you're doing is, and what you mentioned to me earlier that you're doing is looking for mechanisms specifically that elevate the conversation that you're having and increase the effectiveness of the product so that you can elevate the conversation.
Exactly. And right here we have where the source is. Very few products ever tell you anything about sourcing because they don't know. Like ship offers, everybody, you ask, where are these sourced? Crickets. You're never going to hear an answer because they probably just get it wherever it's easiest and cheapest in a supply chain, because they're not going for efficacy. They're going for selling things to entrepreneurs who are chasing shiny objects. I'm sorry, because if you don't develop, do you really belong in the space? I'll let you think, not you, anybody watching this, decide that for yourself. If slapping a label on something and calling yourself a supplement entrepreneur is what actually makes you a supplement entrepreneur, I think you can kind of sense where I stand. But here we have symbology as well. Here's where it comes from. Here's what it looks like. The effort of this person beautifying you, giving you the opportunity to get the deepest water mineral content in your skin with this one ingredient. And earth elements are a part of every part of what makes our cells grow and build. So having those in there, oh goodness, sulfur. MSM is a sulfur supplement, and everybody should drink it every single day because our connective tissue is largely made of sulfur. We don't have sulfur, we don't have regenerative connective tissue. That is in this.
And I'll say, just like on a personal level, as we're going through this, I'm already itching to look this up and see if it's already in a product that I can use like right now. So as like a target demographic of skincare, this conversation and the way you're explaining what it's actually doing for my skin, as well as seeing this slideshow and those pictures, is selling me on this ingredient.
First of all, I've already done a lot of the research, and you are hard pressed to find anything beyond typical sunscreens that get anywhere near what we're talking about. It is a massively what I would call underserved major market, because what the ingredients we have now are not being utilized in something that we need to use on a daily basis. So that opens up a huge opportunity. And from a business owner perspective, 50% of your business is acquisition. 50% of your business is churn, keeping people using your product 6 to 9 months on average. That's how you build 9-figure exits. That's what keeps people hard and wet from the business side.
That also enters the conversation really well for the demographic you were already talking about, the families who are using sunscreen, the moms who want to protect their kids.
And here we just
the people who don't have time for another step in their skincare.
Oh, this eliminates steps.
Yeah.
It's an easy button. And here's that oxidative damage conversation we were having about detoxifying the things that create the oxidative damage, which are free radicals. That's why this is a antioxidant formula as well as mineral based. So it's got tremendous messaging claim potential without having to get hypey at all. Just speaking the actual science in a way that goes down smooth. That's the amazing thing about mechanism. It does so much of the heavy lifting for you, especially when you have this. Now, let's look at our final ingredient, fermented rice water. Are you familiar with this at all? I'm not.
Yes. Very popular in Korean skincare. Great for evening skin tone. And I think it also helps with collagen as well. But that's the layman's assessment.
Bioliquefaction. Wow. Never heard of that word, have you?
No.
So here we have more Saccharomyces, the same strain as the first ingredient we audited. So we're getting a double dose, which helps in messaging.
But as we were talking earlier, since we are discussing sunscreen specifically, those will become inactive in the product. Chemicals.
We need to confirm that. I would imagine they're suggesting these because they can remain more active in the formulation, but those are questions we need to ask.
So also interesting to note that like you also have to understand your market and your product enough to ask those questions. Yeah.
This is why in the copywriting miracle stuff, I said like a fucking Tourette's. It's all about knowing more than everybody else in the room. Because if you ask the wrong questions, you might get the copy that looks and sounds beautiful, but crickets, right? So that's what we're addressing now, is understanding this stuff deeply enough to ask the right questions. So it's a sugar scrub. Metabolized ingredients, antioxidant capacity, increasing oxidative damage shielding, increase of protein content, which would imply it simulates the fibroblasts. We would need to ask that question unless it's denoted here soon.
Well, the PDF that you're looking at is talking about hair, not skin.
Yeah, that's why we need to ask, like, amino acids. Amino acids are critical for cellular, but is this in a form where the amino acids are intact and not denatured? Or, in other words, active? So I have the most questions about this particular ingredient, obviously, because it's not being presented in a way that's relevant. So what do we do? Well, let's just quickly go over here. So specifically, the first thing we see is a 2013 study of help improve skin damage from the sun. So relevant in the conversation, there is obviously going to be mechanism. We don't have any lightening of the skin necessarily. Antioxidants, that's not true. Antioxidants, minerals, that's lightening the skin tremendously, but this is lightening from a different perspective. Which?
That depends on the demographic, whether skin lightening is something they're actively seeking or whether they're just looking for protection.
The reason why we use sunscreen is to prevent discoloration. That's a huge, one of the biggest benefits of sunscreen for keeping all over consistent skin tone, not getting the appearance of dark spots, which are a specific melanocyte cell just going ape shit crazy and pumping out melanin like there's never going to be enough melanin ever again. And then we get those dark spots. And
all of those things are true. And also all of those things are not the cultural way that people use sunscreen. Yeah, people don't want cancer.
Not in America.
People want sun. Yeah, and people, yeah, that's why this is really popular in Korea, because their cultures.
Korea, Japan, Asia in general, skin brightening products like this product over there would be just in that region of the world a slam dunk, because the way that they look at sunscreen, the way they look at skin is at a much higher level of sophistication because of their unique genetics and the way that their skin reacts to the sun. And it's just something that's in the consciousness. And I've known this for 10 years, and I'm sure it's been like that for a way longer than that. Because I only knew about it from marketing to that region with this hyper pigmentation messaging, skin brightening more than dark spots actually resonates there. So the overcoming dark spots doesn't sell as much as just overall skin brightening and consistent even tone with a poreless porcelain-like appearance. They want their skin to look just like seamless.
And how does that contrast with what you've seen in the American market?
Less low-hanging fruit in the terms of that part of the conversation being emotionally charged. But because we get to hit the emotional charge, this is icing on the cake. We don't need to hit them over the head with it, but it's certainly awesome to include in the conversation. We would need to do more research on this one, but we have questions to ask the client, to ask the manufacturer. I would say the two first ones are a slam dunk. Let's find out more about this, and more than anything else, let's find what remains active in the final formula. And once we
I'd
get
also
that,
like to know, I'd also like to know with this list of ingredients, if it's still possible to have them all at effective percentages.
yeah, exactly. Are they active? Are they going to perform in their intact nature-based mechanism? What they do in nature, does it maintain that in the formulation? Or is it just there and we really can't talk about it because it's not going to do much? That's what we need to find out. If it's the latter, then there's some going back to the drawing board. If it's the former, we're amazing. But we need to find that out, because that's, we need to know in our integrity character what's real. And then what isn't real, we'll shore up. What is, we let go until we finish plugging the other holes. I won't say it.
That's what she said.
So that's about it. This is, somebody asked, how do you get the mechanism? Well, this is how you get to mechanism. This is how you get to more sophisticated positioning. And this is how you convert more low-hanging fruit. Have questions? Ask us in the thread chat. What is it called? Thread? Comments?
Comment section.
Comment your comment in the comments. Anyways, thanks all.